Well, we're back with the 74 Volkswagen SunBug. We're pretty much close to being done with it. This is Carysgarage, and on this episode, let's do some more work on the Beetle right after this. And before we get started with this episode, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit that button down below. Hit the like if you like the video, all my other videos. Hit the bell, share with your friends. I also have a Patreon. Any little bit helps, with all these projects. And this video is sponsored by Route 66 Auctions. It's a local New Mexico auction site that does a monthly car auction, consignment auctions, donation auctions. They've got some charities they work with, really great group. URL is down below in the description, as is my Patreon information. But let's go ahead and get started. So today, we're going to take the door panel off. We're going to pull the window regulator out because it's very stiff, doesn't work. So we're going to clean everything up, take the regulator completely apart, clean it up really thoroughly, and get it to actually roll up the window without breaking a window crank. So let's get into it. Window regulators on Beetles are not difficult. Fairly easy to do. The only problem is there's a screw hiding under here that you have to take out to pivot the vent wing out to be able to get it apart. But we'll see if we can do it without messing too much up, because the biggest problem is the window guides. Of course, on cars that are old and been sitting, are brittle. So to get the door panel off, I've already got the window crank off, which snapped, so there wasn't really much left of it. In this particular year, it has screws in the armrests. Some of the other ones actually have a catch on the inside of the door panel, and they're screwed in from the inside. This one does not have those. It is screwed from the outside. So go ahead and get these long screws out. Next, it's probably been done 1,000 times. I don't know, whatever, I'm doing it on this one. Go pull this little piece of plastic, which covers the screw, and of course they usually always break, which this one did not. Gentle, old brittle plastic. I mean, these things are, what, 74? This thing's coming up on 50 years old now. It's crazy. There's one single Phillips head screw right here. Takes the door handle, I guess you call this an escutcheon trim panel off. Pull it out. There you go. Pull the door panel. I highly recommend, if you don't have one of these, door panel popper. Highly recommend getting it. Makes it a little bit easier on these older cars that have slightly more brittle and tired door panels. Really what you do, you put it back behind. And yes, it will scratch up your paint. I'm very well aware. As you can tell from this car, the paint isn't particularly great, so whatever. It's sometimes best to put some electrical tape on it, but you get it as close to the actual push pin for the door as you can. What that does is it keeps you from tearing it apart, which is what I'm starting to do. And the trick is you get it actually between the push pin, and it puts the pressure in that area so it really doesn't tear it up. But this door panel is really less than great. And then just go around the whole dang thing. And these do work a little bit better on modern cars that don't have the painted doors. Some of the newer ones have door panels that really go around the door, and these do work a little bit better for that. But, it does work. Trick, when you can pull a door panel off without destroying the cardboard as much as possible, is the biggest goal. Especially on this, because these are the brown door panels, door cards, because this is a SunBug and it had the tobacco brown interior. It's a little bit darker, but it did start life out as kind of a brown. You pull this off, I'll throw it in the car. And it looks like there are a couple of the rubber pieces, but really only broke one clip, so it's not bad. And of course you got the vapor shield, which by now are usually completely disintegrated. This one's okay-ish. So we'll pull this off as much as we can. And now comes the fun part. What we'll do is get the screw out up here, and then I need to get the window crank to lower the window as much as we can to be able to get it off of the regulator to drop the glass down and then pivot the vent wing, which I have a different set of vent wings, but this is not chrome, and the ones I have are chrome, so it wouldn't look correct. And a favorite tool of one of my favorite YouTubers, Vice Grips. So it's one of the problems. A lot of aftermarket window cranks are not very well reinforced, and they're kind of crappy metal, but you get what you can get. And if your windows are even remotely dirty, your window regulators are dirty, or they stick up, it will snap one of these window cranks like nothing. So we get the window down until we can get to the 2 bolts that hold the window on. Now the window's down. So this is the fun part. I have to try and get this window guide down without screwing it up too badly, which is easier said than done. Should be enough. And like I say, the reason for this is because there's a screw right here, which you have to take out to be able to get the vent wing out. You find it really annoying you have to take the vent wing out to do this, but really there's one bolt here, and then you wrangle it. So we got to get this slightly out of the way. Told you it was fun. And honestly, pulling out the whole scraper channel does make it a little bit easier, but then the more you mess with it, the more it might break. And I have not bought a new one, and I really don't want to. This is really the hardest part of it, it's just this guy. One other thing I will pull for the ease of it is this inner rubber piece. I did that on the last one. And obviously, yes, I know, using metal tools with the paint, you're going to scratch it, but, you know, like I said, the paint on this car isn't that great, and I really don't care. If you have a very nicely painted car, obviously take much more precautions to protect the paint, or use rubber tool, or not rubber, plastic. You know, they do make plastic tools. So that will give us a little bit more room. Now, the one thing that you get hung up on is this piece that goes down, where it bolts into the door. There's a little L bracket that does hang up. So you gotta look down in here. And you pull it out. So this piece right here will hang up in the door if you're not careful. But once this is out, it all becomes fairly easy. There is a couple of bolts. One right here. One right here. One down here. Now, pull it out. I'm going to pull the glass because I want to clean the whole thing. The window regulator and all of its disgusting, nasty glory. So now what we're going to do is completely strip it. We're going to take it completely apart, clean it, sand it down, get all of the surfaces as clean as possible, and hopefully the goal is we can make it work a lot better. And then once it's all back together, I spray a bunch of silicone into the actual tracks, and that helps with the window. But getting this thing not so grimy, because like even with the window not attached to it, it probably won't pick up on the microphone, but it is very gritty. And that makes it not work. So, go to the bench, strip it and clean it. Oh boy. It's all these little minutia things that can be a total pain. And when you have multiple cars that need this, it can get exhausting. Should also probably vacuum out the doors. Gross. But let's go to the garage. And I'm sure you can get replacement window regulators, but I'm cheap. And these are the original Volkswagen ones, so if I can save this one, I would really like to do that. The biggest thing on these is this little guy right here. It's crimped over, so when the window regulator goes all the way to the bottom of its travel, it bottoms basically, so it can't fall out. What I did, be very gentle about this, is bend these guys back up to match the original contour of this channel. And then what the goal is to be able to get the entire thing out. And there we go. It popped out there. It disconnected from the cog up here. So now what we can do is pull the whole thing out. And this is the same cable they use on the sunroofs. So what we will try and do, clean it up really well and see if there's any wear. If there's too much wear on it, I've got a parts store. We might try and pull that one apart, because then the actual cog wheel that's inside the window crank won't be able to catch. But we'll see what we can do. And then really the whole thing is just cleaning all this up because it is disgusting. The old Dremel, the wire wheel, and get to cleaning. Clean, clean, clean. It's gonna take a while. And honestly, I forgot to get some carb cleaner at the parts store, so let's use some Windex. And I got these, they're like bottle brushes from Harbor Freight. And I put it in the channel, scrub it out. It's really just trying to get it as clean as possible. You know, older vehicles, and you get a lot of dirt and debris in there, and just want to get them all cleaned out. The thing why I like these bottle brushes is they go around the curves really easily. The one thing I wish we could do is actually get into the window regulator itself, but it's crimped together. And I suppose you could always cut the crimps and pull it apart, but I don't want to do that. So we'll try to clean it up as much as we can like this. Now I'm going to go fire up the air compressor, blow it all out. And now the channel that everything rides in is in really, really clean shape. The actual mechanism right here is a little stiff, so let's see if we can oil it and free it up just a little bit. This doesn't always work 100% of the time, but I have had good luck doing this. Because like I say, I'm cheap. I like to fix things when I know how to buy parts. So that did free up a bit. So now, let's clean this. There's a lot of gunky material on these guides. So, got it cleaned up pretty much as good as we can for what we have. So we will see if it works. See if we can get it working better. I'll tell you what, that already feels significantly better in how it operates. And then every surface that the slides come in contact to, so I make sure everything is nicely greased up. I use this, it's kind of like you wouldn't call it high friction grease, but it's a grease made for doing sunroofs, really. It's actually sunroof cable grease. And since this is essentially a sunroof cable, it works. So now that I would say I'm confident that it's going to work a lot better, and really, it's a lot of it just getting the gunk and grime out of it. What we need to do is just bend these little guys back down. And that keeps it to where it doesn't fall apart when it's in the door. That's pretty much what it was like when I pulled it apart. So now, I'm going to clean the window, because it's absolutely disgusting. And then, we'll put it all back together, and hope it works. Hope it works better than it did, because it really didn't work at all. And now in reverse order, we'll put it back in. Before we get too far along in connecting everything, I do need to put the window back in. So, I'm going to loosely attach the regulator. here's the tricky part. We got to get the window in place, the window regulator onto the window, and the vent wing back in. So let me go ahead and pop that in and make sure, I did this once on accident, that the channel actually goes up underneath this door lip, because nothing will fit if it doesn't. This one. And yes, it would be wise to put in all new, door rubbers and window tracks and scrapers and whatnot. But I'm not. Now, something I do, it could be very controversial. I do use silicone spray, and I spray it into the window channels. If you have nice paint, or you're going to paint your car, this stuff will make it difficult if it gets under your paint. So now, let me go get a new window crank and see if it's going to behave. And I would say these do make me nervous because they are really not the best quality. I'll tell you what, that's way, 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 way better. I'm going to say that's a success. So, what we'll do is we'll start off on the bottom. Just kind of get some stuff lined up. And then you just kind of make sure the little pins are lined up and well, there we go. Really, the only thing I have left to do is to put on this accessory rain guard that was on the car, but it works. This just goes to show that you don't always have to get replacement parts. Sometimes with a little bit of resourcefulness, you can save yourself some money and just clean up and fix what's there. Like I say, in general, I'm kind of cheap. If I don't have to buy a new part, I don't want to. This is obviously disintegrated. If I wanted to fix that, I would have to buy a new one. But I couldn't roll up or roll down the window before. Now I can. That's pretty exciting. Well, there you go. That will wrap up this episode. Got the passenger window working. It goes up and down. Both the windows work. Even the sunroof works. I'll say works. It has a couple of tweaks that need to be fixed, but I don't know if I want to dive that deep into it. But, the SunBug has come a long way. On the next episode, talk about it in quite a bit more detail and, project done maybe? I don't know. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next episode.